welcome to a new video. It's been a little while, I know. Things have been kind of busy here for me. But I recently got this really cool new book. Well, new to me. New old book that I thought would be really cool to share with you. So, gonna just take a look through some of the pages. Honestly, I haven't looked at it much, so this will be kind of a discovery for both of us. I should say that you might hear some background noises today. There's some hammering of some sort happening upstairs. It sounds like one of my neighbors is maybe doing some work. You might also hear my air conditioning going. It's still pretty warm where I am. You might be able to see I'm wearing shorts. I have my sleeves rolled up. Just trying to stay cool here. So, try not to let those extra sounds bother you. Some of you may like extra sounds in the background, I'm not sure. But I just wanted to let you know that that's what we're dealing with today. So let's take a look at this book, Antique Maps of Europe, the Americas, West Indies, Australasia, Africa, the Orient. It's kind of an outdated term, so you can maybe get a sense of how old this book is. 167 map illustrations in color and black and white. It's got this kind of plastic stuff on it. Makes me think maybe it was at a library at one point in time. It's that kind of plastic stuff that they sometimes put on books at the library. Maybe not. I'm not sure. I like it though. It's a nice sound. Reminds me of going to the library as a kid. The books tended to be wrapped like this. There's a price written here by hand. It's probably at a used bookstore, or if not a used bookstore, maybe a library, like clear out sale, whatever they call that when they get rid of books, to make room for new ones. I didn't pay $35 for this. I paid $0 for this. It was free in kind of a box of books in my neighborhood. Every once in a while, somebody puts out a box of books, and every once in a while, I find something I like. It's kind of cool. I've definitely put out books myself for other people. Sometimes I have duplicates, or I don't know. Sometimes I finish a book, especially with novels. I don't really feel the need to keep those all the time. If it's a classic, of course, I might think about it. But if I'm going through a series or something like that, I'll often let it go. Although these days I've actually just taken to giving them to friends instead. But anyways, all that to say, I found this book in my neighborhood in a box of free books. publisher is called Octopus Books. Octopus Books. So this was first published in 1972, although the maps contained inside are a bit older. The end papers are from a map that was published in 1696. So here we've got contents, introduction, the map makers, the maps, and index. Oh, this is pretty cool. Just a little description, kind of what to expect. Oh, and then credit to the map makers. These folks from the 1500s. A lot of folks from the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, etc., etc. Skip ahead a little bit. Obviously, we're not going to go through this whole book today, but I wouldn't mind just kind of taking a look at some things. This is interesting, actually. Some of these are clearly photographs, and they're not super clear. They're just a little blurry. Not a problem, obviously, but just if you were wondering if it's the camera or simply the page, it might be a little bit of both, but generally speaking, I think that's due to just the way this was printed. Here's a picture of Italy. You know, as I'm going through this, it's making me realize I might do another video with a contemporary atlas for the purpose of kind of doing like a storytelling thing. I guess you can let me know in the comments if that's interesting to you. Kind of storytelling thing where I go through the map or the atlas and point out places that I've been to and maybe tell stories. I've been lucky enough to travel a bit, and I hope to travel more in the future. Maybe it could even be a recurring series. I'm not sure if my stories would be interesting enough to be a full-on series, but I don't know. Maybe I'll try it and we'll see what happens. I don't know if you can tell by the sound, but these pages are really thick. They're almost like a cardstock. And they're not exactly glossy, but they're, I don't know, maybe like medium glossy, lightly glossy. Map of the Kingdom of Sicily. Oh no, Sicility. The Kingdom of Sicility. According to this, it's a combination of Sicily and Sardinia. Here we go. Okay, so obviously over here, we're still in the Mediterranean. We've got these maps of Italy. But then over here, we move over to Asia. So here's Japan and Korea. I believe this is Mongolia. Yeah, the Empire of the Moguls. And here we have much of Asia. So with the Middle East, Russia, China. It's actually interesting, kind of a slightly different take on India here, a different shape than I'm used to seeing. This is also of Japan and Korea, Korean Sea, the Empire of Japan. Here's the Middle East, or labeled the Ottoman Empire, a correct map of the Ottoman Empire. That's what this is called, what they've titled it. Interesting. As opposed to an incorrect map, I suppose. So, modern day countries, not always represented. Over on the European side, it looks pretty much what we're used to now. Spain, France, Germany, Italy, at least for Western Europe. And over here, in Africa, we've got Nubia. Over here, we just have Arabia. That's what it's titled, Desert of Arabia. Anatolia right here. Black Sea, Georgia, Armenia. And over here we have Persia, which much of this would be modern day Iran. So, interesting. Just reading what each of these are, these sort of, it's funny with the historical maps, sometimes it can be a little difficult to be able to tell right offhand what we're looking at, just because either they're from a different perspective or they've prioritized other things in the map itself, or sometimes just because maps looked a little different back then than they do now. All right, so Middle East over here with Iran over on the side here, and then way to the west side, there's Spain. Okay, let's move on. Ooh, cool. Tasmania, right here. Oh, interesting. There's an image of what we know now as Australia, labeled here as New Holland or Terra Australis. And here we have New Zealand over here. New Zealand always makes me think of Lord of the Rings. Maybe that's not fair. I know New Zealand has a lot more to offer than that. But the Lord of the Rings films were a pretty big deal when they came out, and they were sort of famously filmed in New Zealand. It also makes me think of Taika Waititi, the director. Here we have the United States. This is the east coast of the United States. And some of the sort of Midwest and South. is this? 1820. Okay, so the East Coast is pretty well established here, and kind of less so as we move out towards the west. Here we have a detail of the city of Baltimore from 1855. It's a pretty detailed picture here. This looks pretty nice. Here we have a chart of the North Atlantic Ocean. Oh, here we have, cool, some details of the United States. Here we have North Carolina. Over here we have Long Island. This is the island that kind of shoots off from New York. Really from like New York City. So the northeast of the United States, we have Massachusetts, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Virginia, New York, and then New York City with Long Island. Of course, there's Vermont and New Hampshire as well, although I don't see them labeled super clearly, but Vermont and New Hampshire would be up here, and then Maine right here. Kansas and Nebraska. How about that? I've never been to Kansas or Nebraska. Wait, is that true? Yeah, that's true. I'm pretty sure that's true. I've been to a lot of states in the United States, actually, but I haven't spent much time in the Plains states. I've spent time in the Pacific Northwest, the West Coast, the Southwest, the South, the Northeast, and I've been to the Midwest just a few times, very, very, very briefly. So my experience with the Midwest is very limited. Not really for any particular reason, just I've only had a few things bring me out there. I enjoyed it though. Actually, generally, I've enjoyed most places I've visited. Is that true? That's not to say that unpleasant things haven't happened, but I think in general there's always good to be found or interesting experiences to be sought out and had. I really enjoy trying new foods, and honestly, I even kind of get a kick out of experiencing new weather patterns. I know that might sound kind of silly, but that's something that to me has always been really interesting about traveling. It's just that different places not only often look quite different, but they feel quite different, like on your skin. And they sound quite different sometimes, depending on whether it's rural or urban, and also sound quite different depending on the accent or multiple accents or language that's spoken. All right, let's keep going here. Oh, this is cool. Canada, sort of the northeast of Canada, New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. And here we have Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Oh, actually, I'm going back here. Wales. We've moved back over across the Atlantic. Here's Wales. That's all I have to say about that. Oh, wait a minute. Nope, wrong again. New North Wales. I was thinking for a second, I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. But again, as I said before, sometimes the maps look different. In this case, that was my bad. Here we have this map from 1850, 1850, British America is what it's titled. But then the little description here says, despite its title, the map also shows Russian America, Iceland, and Greenland. Very cool, very cold. Here we have something titled A New Map of America. Published in 1720. So they're not totally sure what's going on with the West Coast, but they got a pretty good sense of what's going on with the East Coast here. Down through Mexico and Central America, over into South America here. Here's South America from 1765 here. Let's see what we have. Patagonia down here, where southern Argentina is now. We have Chile. I see Quito labeled, which is the capital of Ecuador, but I don't see it labeled as Ecuador. And it actually seems to include kind of this, we have part of what is now Ecuador here, as well as what is now Peru. Paraguay, Brazil, this region labeled here Amazonia, and here we have terra firma is what it's labeled as, although now this would be Colombia right here and Venezuela right here. And I could be wrong, but I believe this little, maybe one of you could correct me, but I believe this little inlet thing here would be Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela. It's kind of like particularly noticeable. The same is true actually in California with the San Francisco Bay right here. It's that little section that like looks like that. Northeast Africa. Here we have more Africa. Okay. Cool. A map of Kent. A map of Sussex. So we're in England now. Back in England. What's this? Derbyshire, or Derbyshire. Honestly, I'm not sure how to say that one. Derbyshire? Let's go with that. Apologies if I'm getting that wrong. Wow, a lot of detail here. The hand lettering and everything. everything. Um, you wouldn't want to mess up, I'll tell you that. I suppose you'd have to carve it out if you did, like, off of the paper. Honestly, I'm not sure how that was done back then. I imagine that there was a method. It's hard for me to believe that one could write all of this without making some sort of error. At the very least, I don't know, if something jumped on the table or frightened you, or there was an earthquake, or I don't know. All right, more of the English Channel. Ooh, Glasgow, up in Scotland. It's pretty cool. Wales. Actual Wales. Oh. This is cool. These coats of arms, I think they're interesting. Just kind of an interesting thing. We're nearing the end of the book here. I didn't realize we were going to get through it. Of course, we didn't really stop for everything, but and there's the guy that compiled it. We didn't stop for everything, but we kind of made our way through here. Well, thank you for going on that journey with me, as it were. It was fun. So, antique maps. I didn't mention the cover either. I talked about the plastic, but underneath the plastic, it's that, I don't know what this is called, but it's that like slightly kind of rough stuff. And then, of course, it's a hardcover. It's nice. Nice book. So thank you for sharing this time with me. I hope you enjoyed. If there was something that you particularly liked, or something you wanted to comment on, or something that I got wrong, you can leave me a message in the comments. Otherwise, I hope you have an excellent day, night, afternoon, morning, evening, and I'll see you next time.